Hi guys, welcome back to my channel to learn with me, Commerce with Mac. Today I'm going to teach you 2020 Business Studies ALL past paper. I'm going to start soon. You guys know there are 50 marks for your paper 1 and 50 marks for your paper 2. I'm making it as short as possible. In that particular 50 marks, we have 30 MCQs to score. So this is the first MCQ I'm going to start with. Without wasting your time and mine, we are going to start 2020 past paper of Business Studies. Let's move on to the question now. A business is a group of people motivated by profit, any economic activity based on services, an organized effort of individuals for selling goods, an organized effort of individuals for producing goods, and any economic activity which fulfill individual needs and wants. So they're asking the basic definition of a need, a business. So you need to understand that when it comes to a business, it motivates by profit, but it doesn't give the exact meaning. It gives an economic activity, but it's not only services. It has a it is considering people's needs, not only services. It is also considering products as well. An organized effort of individual for selling good. It's not only an individual work. There are a lot of people who are working on that particular thing, so it's not an individual work, so it's wrong. An organized effort of individuals for producing goods. So if you are producing goods, it's not about producing. It's also about distributing the products towards the market. Any economic activity which fulfills the individual needs and wants. So if you can satisfy human needs and wants, that's what we say business. It's a very easy one. So the first one's MCQ's answer. If you guys are right, put it right, guys. So I'm gonna mark it as first five. Okay, so first one's answer is five. So I'm gonna erase it off. Then I move on to the second part. The first one answer is fifth one. Okay, I gave you the definition. The basic thing you need to know when it comes to when it comes to business studies, you need to understand the basic stuff. That this business definition is very straightforward. It's about satisfying human needs and wants. Even if you go through what is business in your business studies paper, the business is about satisfying human needs and wants. Then we move on to the next part of the question number 2. Let's discuss now. As per the classification of GDP, so you know what is GDP, regards? GDP means gross domestic product. Gross domestic product means it's the entire nation's production. We say that gross domestic product of Sri Lanka. So the entire nation's production means the entire country. What are they producing? We'll look on it. An economic activity which belongs to the industrial sector is. So they are given few things, but you need to remember the term. Now you need to be very careful when you're writing. What to say, guys? Doing business studies, you need to know one thing, one particular thing, to note down the things. Now, this is related to GDP, okay, and it's an economic activity they're speaking about, and also they're saying that it is industrial sector. So, what is this industrial sector, guys? Industrial. Now, you might learn in your first chapter, you have learned primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector, right, guys? So, when it comes to primary, tertiary, secondary, primary, secondary, tertiary, we need to understand secondary sector speaks about industrial sector. So, when it comes to industrial sector, where does this belong to? I mean, for GDP, which is going to contribute under industrial sector? Is it going to be recycling? Is it going to be legal advocacy? It's going to be insurance? Is it going to be sale of vegetable seeds? Is it going to be forestry? Now you guys might know what might be the answer for now, because you would have found it out. When you go with primary, secondary, and tertiary, I'm going to classify this by in nature. Forestry, this part you guys can see my spotlight. I hope you guys can see this. So forestry is agriculture. So agriculture, or we say that it's a industry, it's a primary sector, because I'm not agriculture, they are taking the resource directly from nature. So forestry comes under primary sector, not agriculture. Very sorry, guys. Sale of vegetables is also, you take the vegetables from the farm and you sell it, and it's also a part of primary sector. And when it comes to sale, like you are plucking the plants, it's a primary sector, but when you sell it, it becomes a tertiary sector. Then moving on to the next part, we have insurance. Insurance is also a part of service sector, because they're selling some sort of service. Legal advocacy is also another advisory services on legal terms. It's also a part of service sector. So what is the answer actually here? Industrial is about recycling the product. It's about recycling it again and again. So then of course it's a part of industry sector, because manufacturing, when you are doing manufacturing, when you construct things, you need to recycle the particular product you are doing. So the answer for the second one is actually number 2. So I have given the answer for number, I want you guys to mark it. So number 2 is the answer. So I'm going to erase this off, guys. So we move on to the third part. If you have in between doubts, you can ask me. Okay, so third MCQ. Let's discuss third MCQ. What is the direct action that can be taken by enterprise to generate a fair earning for the owners? Now you need to understand, enterprise means business. fair owning to the owners. If they are going to earn a fair thing to the owners, what are the ways they can generate? Actually, what are the things a business can do to satisfy the owners is what the question is. First one is managing waste. If they manage the waste, how can they? It becomes a good thing for the business. Somewhat it is good, but still it's not good to make the business successful. Fulfilling social welfare. How come fulfilling social welfare will become successful? If you are satisfying the environment, will the owners be happy? Somewhat, but not always. Assuring job security for employees, who bothers? If employees work or not, who bothers? You need, when it comes to what to say, this when it comes to owners, they need some sort of return. So answer is number four: investing money in productive ventures. You need to invest their cash in correct ventures and give them a good return. So because they need to have fair earning. They're speaking about fair earning. So when they speak about fair earning, it's about investment. Because if you invest, well, you can get a return on investment. So where you invest, you can get a fair earning out of it. So if you are speaking about fair earning, it's answer number four: investing money in productive ventures. Why are we not setting a fair price for goods and services? Who bothers? Because if you set fair prices, selling prices can go down. If selling prices goes down, you can't earn a huge income on the market. So you need to know that particular thing as well. So then answer is for question number three is going to be number. It's going to be number four. So I have underlined it. Yeah. Then we move on to the next part of the some guys. Yeah. So fourth MCQ on this question is speaking about a business contributes. Yeah, a business contributes to ensure economic sustainability through creating infrastructure facilities, importing goods, creating employment, maintaining an equitable distribution of income, maintaining the internal price stability. Now you need to understand one thing, guys. When it comes to economic stability, how come infrastructure facilities, importing goods, creating employment, maintaining distribution of income, internal price stability will be always there. So you need to understand when it comes to this type of particular question, you need to see that now you see what is actually going to sustain economic sustainability. If you create the environment better, will the economy be successful? You need to go with the best part, which will contribute to ensure economic sustainability. If you import goods, goods will come into the country. Will it give everyone sustainability? Sustainability means people can breathe for a certain period of time. People can do what they actually really want to. People can, do certain transactions in the market. People can purchase goods and services. So then on third part, if you can see, the answer is creating employment. Because if you make the employment opportunities, people will have enough income to invest in day-to-day life. If they can invest in day-to-day life, they are okay with the infrastructure facilities. They're okay to import the goods. They're okay to, they are very happy to distribute the income. Even you can achieve internal price stability. So the first thing in any economy is about getting a job for a person, because that's the basic stuff of employment. Because if employment is there, only people will be able to do more in the market when it comes to the needs of employees. So let's move on when it comes to the needs of economic sustainability. So you have learned in sustainability, you have learned like economic, environment, social. So we are talking about economic, because in sustainability dimension, you would have learned three type of aspects. Economic, I just remind you for you, economic, environment, and social. So remember this dimension. It can be tested in your question number one, maybe in Roman number two or Roman number three. Let's move on to the point we want to discuss. What is the most prevalent business establishment type in Sri Lanka? So let's mark the answer for fourth one. The answer for fourth one is actually third part. When it comes to a fifth one, you might see what is the most prevalent business establishment type in Sri Lanka. So for this fifth one, you might see there's they're asking actually when it comes to prevalent, what is the business actually people are doing today in Sri Lanka? The most number of times the business has been made in Sri Lanka. So when it comes to partnership, cooperatives, publicly limited companies, franchise business, sole proprietorship, all these five businesses are existing in Sri Lanka in different names. But most of the time, what is the business we are always doing in Sri Lanka? Prevalent means the most number of times the business has been started up in our country. That is actually sole proprietorship. So you guys can understand the answer very easily. So MCQ number 6. What are we going to do? What is the immediate effect of the turnover and profit of a business when the production is reduced while the price of common goods is increased? Now you need to understand one thing. If your production has reduced, if you don't produce much, what will happen to your turnover and your profit? Very easy, guys. Turnover means your revenue. Profit means the income you're gonna get. the money you're gonna have after spending on your expense. That's what we say profit. So after you spend on expense, what the balance what you're going to have is what we say profit. So you might have learned sales minus or income minus expense is also known as profit. So if you don't produce much production in your business because your production is reduced, what will happen to your revenue? Your revenue will actually decrease because you're not selling more. Though they're saying now they are confusing, the examiner is confusing you why the price of common goods is increased. So if they increase the common goods price, who bothers? Because they're not speaking about you are not selling common goods, even if they have increased the level of goods. If you produce less, though they have increased your price, you will get a lower return, not the high return, because you have reduced the production. If the price of the product has increased as well as your production has increased, then your price has increased, your production has increased, you can increase a lot of profit. But if your production has decreased and price is increasing, it's no point because you can't sell it because you don't have the product you have. So turnover will decrease, and also if turnover decrease, your profit will eventually decrease. So answer for sixth one will be always the fourth one you need to know. So let me erase this off, then move on to the seventh part of the question. What is the seventh particular part? An entrepreneur uses. Okay, let's start. And an entrepreneur uses a budget for minimizing the financial requirements, providing financial information to employees, monitoring operations of the business, monitoring financial performance of the business, identifying the output level of break-even point. Now, an entrepreneur actually doesn't, minimize the level of financial requirement. They don't provide, financial information to employees because they want to keep the information with them. They want to also see that the operation is working in a proper manner, but actually they prepare a budget only to monitor what are they making enough income on return, or are they using the money fully for the business. So they want to have an ideology how are they using the particular cash what they're earning. That's a part of monitoring financial performance of the business. So entrepreneur uses the budget actually to monitor his performance. So answer is going to be number 4. I'm not taking number 5 because he's not going to identify output level of break-even point. Break-even point is about a management part. So though management, management part, though it's a part of a budget, guys, he doesn't want to know how much the business has sold and how much the business has made income. He need to know the overall picture of the business. To know the overall picture, that's the reason we need to have a budget. So that's the answer, guys, for question number 7. Then moving on to the question number 8. Let's discuss question number 8 then. Yeah. So what is question number 8? Give me a second. I'm using the. Yeah. So compared to an entrepreneur, a businessman is most willing to take risks, accept all responsibility, perform safely, enhance creativity, create new business opportunities. So you need to understand when it comes to entrepreneur, what is the basic stuff an entrepreneur you need to have. They need to, the entrepreneurs might take risks, but a businessman is most willing to. A businessman will not take risks. An entrepreneur accept all responsibility. A businessman doesn't accept responsibilities. An entrepreneur doesn't perform safely. He always take risks, guys. So the answer for this is going to be 3. A businessman will always play safely. He want to save his money. He don't want to lose all his income what he has invested. But an entrepreneur will even lose his money. He's not worried about it. He will enhance creativity. Will be always there. He'll always see new business opportunities as a identification. When everyone doesn't believe on him, he will believe that he is going to do something better into the environment. So answer for 8th one is going to be 3rd one. And let's move on to the ninth one. The following table provides monetary policy instrument used by Central Bank of Sri Lanka and descriptions related to it. So this I have taught you in chapter number 3. You will learn something called monetary policies instrument. I have already explained this particularly. So give me a second. God knows. The following table provides monetary policy instrument used by Central Bank of Sri Lanka and description related to them. They have standing deposit facility rate, open market operations, statutory reserve requirement, and also they have standing lending facility rate and bank interest rate. So with this description, we're gonna connect actually. Let me read the description one by one. A, buying and selling of government securities by the central bank on temporary or permanent basis or permanent or temporary basis. An interest rate imposed by the central bank in granting advances for achieving temporary liquidity purposes in commercial bank. The interest rate charged by the central bank when commercial banks obtain funds by pledging government securities. The amount of deposits that commercial banks are required to maintain at the central bank from the deposit. The interest paid by the central bank when commercial banks invest their surplus funds in government securities. What is the option that correctly matches the given order of instrument with the description stated above? So we need to understand when it comes to standing deposit, deposit facility rate, open market operation, statutory reserve ratio, or standing lending facility rate, bank interest rate. I just want to find out the definition. Let me find out one by one because they are asking. It's in the order. So number one, where it will belong to. Let me find out. So now buying and selling of government securities by the central bank on permanent or temporary basis. If you buy and sell your securities of the government, that's what we say open market operation. So I'm going to find out. So Roman number two is A. So I'm going to find you, there's if there's an answer A on Roman number two. So I'm going to write here the answer, guys, for me to make it easy so I can record it easily. So I'll write here Roman number two, A. Okay. Then let's move on to the next part. An interest rate, yeah, I can write here. An interest rate imposed by central bank in granting advances for achieving temporary liquidity purpose in commercial bank. If you are going to actually, how do you say, if you are going to actually earn an interest rate, okay, earn an interest rate when it comes to Central Bank of Sri Lanka to charge temporarily for liquidity purposes, like in commercial bank. The basic stuff you need to know. It's going to be bank interest rate, guys. So the definition they're speaking is Roman number 5. So I'm gonna write the text here for my easiness, guys, so I can find the order easily. So it should be last. I'm going to write here B. Then we move on to next part, guys. An interest rate charged by central bank when commercial banks obtain funds by pledging government securities. So what is this? Government is charging a small certain percentage when commercial banks are taking money. So when commercial banks takes money from government, that is known as standing lending facility rate. So they're speaking about standing lending because when commercial banks give, when central banks give money to commercial banks, they will consider it as a loan from the central banks. So answer is going to be C for that. Then we move on to next part, the fourth part, the amount of deposit that commercial banks are required to maintain at central bank for their deposit. So when you maintain the level of money in central bank, we say it as statutory reserve requirement. So statutory reserve requirement is going to be D here. Then I move on to next part. The interest rate paid by the central bank when commercial bank invest their surplus funds in government securities. If you invest the surplus fund in government securities, the government will give you some sort of interest for the money you have invested. So commercial banks, when they invest in government, they get some sort of return. That return, what government gives to commercial bank, we say the standard depository facility rate. So it's knowing the definition is very important. So if I go with the correct order, it's going to be E, A, B, C, B. So answer is going to be number 5. It's not number 1. It's not number 2. You can see here, guys. It's not number 3 either. It's not number 4 either. It's not number 5 either. So answer is number. What's the answer, guys? Answer is number 5. So I want you guys to mark that. Mark that. Then we move on to the last. The 10th part. Statement A, Public Service Provident Fund is applicable for all permanent employees in the government sector. Employees Provident Fund is applicable for all private sector employees. Out of the above two statements, A is correct and B is incorrect. A is incorrect and B is correct. Both A and B are incorrect. While both A and B are correct, A is elaborated through B. While both A and B are correct, A is not elaborated through B. So if you guys understand, first you need to know this definition, guys. What is Public Service Provident Fund? It's a type of fund which the government allocates to people who are non-pensionable. What is non-pensionable? They can't get pension. So people who can't actually work, people who are actually need some sort of money from the government, those people will get some sort of money from the government. So now, if I speak about permanent employees, it is not giving the definition of people who will get money are people who cannot do a work. I said like that, right? Non-pensionable employees who doesn't even get pensions. So those are not coming under permanent employees. So answer A is wrong because public service providence fund speaks about the people. The government allocates a fund for people who really need money. They don't have a proper family. They don't have a proper health. So the government will try to, help for the needy. That fund is what we say public service provident fund. So understand the definition, guys. Employees provident fund is where all the employees won't get this fund. Certain small companies like private sectors, when it comes to partnerships, they might have employees. When it comes to cooperatives, they might have employees, but they would have not registered themselves. So all the registered business, I mean, when it comes to payment of salaries, they would have not registered employees payments procedures. So if the companies have not registered, not all private sector employees will receive the EPF fund, guys. So answer for this, both A and B are incorrect. So let me remind you, the answer is actually B for this. Okay, so 10th one B. I'll underline this, guys. So ninth one also we got ninth one we got the fifth one. I think I should draw a mark for this. Ninth one we got fifth, and tenth one we got third. The following table provides principles of insurance and description related to them. So these are the basic insurance principles. I'm going to see one by one, and they are saying what is the option that correctly matches the description in the order of principles given below. So I'm going to zoom this a bit, guys, so you will have a clear vision on what I'm going to read. Insurable interest. Now I'm going to read A, B, C, D, E, and I'm going to tally it, guys. The direct incidents which causes the damage to the insured property. Okay, A, the genuine interest of insurer for insuring a certain object. C, the legal right of an insurer holds to claim compensation paid to the insurer from the third party who caused the damage. D, disclosing all relevant information pertaining to business agreement by the insurer and the insuree. E, the insurer is able to compensate only to the extent of actual loss. So insurable interest is actually speaking about you have some sort of interest on that particular thing, and that is completely genuine. It cannot be copied, it cannot be transferred to anyone without this type of knowledge. So insurable interest is the B part, the genuine interest of insurer for insuring a certain object. You need to have the ownership in order to insure that particular property, then it becomes insurable interest. So Roman number one is going to be B. So I'm going to cut this answers, which is D, E. First, if you have D, E, and D. If you go with third one, fourth one, fifth one, it's completely wrong because we found the answer from the B itself. Then moving on to the second part, indemnity is speaking about. It speaks about. Now I'm just seeing here. It actually speaks about actually for the damage which has occurred. You need to give the compensation. Now, if you see here, the insurer is able to compensate only to the extent of the actual loss. So only to the loss you have incurred, you will be able to get compensation. So only for the compensation they get for the loss you have made is a part of indemnity. So the answer should be B. First one it should be B. Second one it should be E. So what is the answer which has B and E? So answer is number two. If you go with number two, answer is correct. But you don't want to find DAC is correct. That's a good thing in business studies, underlining. But I'll explain you. Utmost good faith means revealing the correct information between the insurer and insuree. So when you reveal the correct information, you can see D, disclosing all relevant information pertaining to insurance agreement by the insurer and insuree. So both comes in one point, and they discuss one by one, and they come to an agreement what is correct and what is wrong. Then when it comes to, now I have spoken about BED, then proximate cause and subrogation. What is these two type of things? Proximate cause speaks about the direct incident which causes the damage to the insured property. You should have a proper way how this accident happened. A legal procedure should be presented when you are going to claim proximate cause. You can't just say, a thunder came, knocked my car, because of that you need insurance. You can't claim like that. There should be a legal proper way how it happened. And even if you are drinking drunk and drive, you can't get the compensation from the insurance company. Subrogation says that the legal right an insurer holds to claim compensation to the insurer from the third party who caused the damage. Now, for example, you're riding the bike and you got affected by a bike, by a car from behind. So when you get affected by a car from behind, you are a person who really got affected without involving actually directly. So if you got affected, you have the right to claim that third party insurance from your next car person. That claiming that particular money from the next car holder who made the accident is a part of subrogation. So giving a small understanding about these five concepts, it's very important to know these concepts. This definition can be a part of question in this year's exam paper because this is 2021. If they are tested in MCQs, of course, it is going to be a part two paper question in your exam stand. So then the answer is going to be second one. So I'm going to underline second one for your knowledge. Yeah, this one is second. So I'm going to erase this off. Then we move on to next part, guys. No worries. If you made it wrong or right, let's attempt it together, guys. Yeah. MCQ number 12. Statement A. Important and complex information can be communicated even verbally. In addition to verbal communication, it is important to communicate such information in writing. So you need to understand one thing. When it comes to information of important or complex information, you can speak verbally. That's correct. Actually, you can communicate through your mouth. Whatever it is hard or it is important, you can speak. So that's correct. In addition to verbal communication, more than that, you can also, like, it is important to communicate such information in writing. You can also make it in writing. That's true. So actually, both are correct, guys. You can write whatever you have said. You can make it in writing also. So where do you write this, guys? It is A is correct and B is incorrect. A is incorrect and B is correct. So first one is wrong. Second one is wrong. Third one, I'm gonna see B. Both A and B is incorrect. So third one is also wrong. If it is correct, it's correct. Then what is the fourth one? While both A and B are correct, it's correct, guys. So it's correct. A is elaborated through B. That's the actual answer because they are speaking about the verbal communication. Then they are bringing the same verbal communication to the statement B, and they're speaking about statement, verbal communication in statement B. That's the part you need to understand, and it's very important for you to understand that the A statement has been explained in statement B. So that's elaborated through B. Then actually the answer is going to be no, fourth one. So I want you guys to underline fourth one, right? So fourth one is the answer. So then with that knowledge, we are moving on to the 13th MCQ, easiest MCQ. Certain times you might feel, certain MCQs are hard, so you don't waste time on attempting the MCQ you don't know. Don't go for the MCQ which you are good at it. Now you see a structure like chapters by chapters you examine. Ask if I come from the beginning, you see question number 1 was chapter 1, question number 2 was chapter 1, question number 3 was on chapter 2, question number 2 was, question number 4 was chapter 2, question number 5 was on, question number, yeah, question number 5 was chapter 4. Question number 6 was chapter 4. Question number 7, chapter 5. Question number 7, again, 8, chapter 5. Question number 9, chapter 3. So this is a mix. Normal, this doesn't happen in exams. Normally it comes in order, but last year students, actually, they have gone through a hard time. They are, the structures, they have made a small a mix to make a bit confused on the exams. And again, they are bringing chapter 4 on question number 10, and they are bringing chapter 8 on question number 11, then communication chapter 9, then they are directly moving on to trade part, which is chapter number 13. Let's start, guys. Trade they are given. So if they are not chess, now in this question you notice that small medium enterprise chapter 6 they didn't ask, chapter 10 warehouse they didn't ask, warehouse and logistics they didn't ask, which means those areas will be tested in paper 2. So when you're doing paper 1, you need to understand in your exam paper to understand if the questions are not tested in certain chapters, you need to understand those chapters will be surely tested in your paper 2. That's how you find out is this question going to come or not. You can focus on what actually will be tested on your exam paper. So then we moving on to the point we want to discuss. When a retailer is selling his goods via online, firstly, if you are selling the goods in online, what you should consider: maintain more inventories, build trust among customers, establish a permanent customer base, create sound consumer attraction, be prepared to market in any country. So you need to understand one particular thing, guys. When it comes to selling the product into the market, first of all, in online, you need to, what do you need to do? Do you need to have inventories in your stock and say, I have inventories, you can come and buy? People will not buy it that particular way. So if you go with answer 1, it's completely wrong. If you go with answer 3 again, because you have a permanent customer base, why do you make an online? You need to make a customer base. So if you don't have a customer base, actually, or if you have a customer base, it's good, but why do you want to sell? You sell to make a customer base, so you will not have a customer base already. So answer 3 is wrong. Answer 2 is the correct answer. Build trust among us customers. When you sell a product into the business, when you put promotion, people will not buy it for the first time. Like, because you promote, it doesn't mean that they need to buy. You invest a lot of money on investments on promotion. Remember one thing, guys, when you sell a particular thing in the industry, you should not expect people to buy it soon as possible you sell. So people will buy it when they really want it. So they need to remember you. So once you reminding you persuading them, like always you put promotion, he will go to them and okay, there's something like that, you should go and buy. So that promotion you should never stop, guys. You need to always invest in that particular part. So that it says build trust among customers is one of the main part of a business in online. Create sound customer attraction, to know that there's a business like that, knowing about customers is not that important. Be prepared to market in any country. If you can be able to sell, sell the product in all the countries, that's also important part you need to understand. Yeah. Then we move on to the 14th part. The agent who buys or sells goods under his personal name on behalf of the principal is called. Again, is state chapter, guys. They're asking, they are given 5 type of agents. These are the 5 type of agents you need to remember in your syllabus: factor, broker, commission agent, bill creditor agent, and also auctioneer. So I'm going to explain one by one and just see what is the actual meaning, who is setting this actual thing. I'm going to start from the behind part. Auctioneer takes a asset of yours. It can be a powder, No, this is the powder. Let me consider this a golden powder. So if I'm gonna sell this golden powder, I will take it into a big area and I will say this is 10 rupees, one times 10 rupees, two times 10 rupees, three times. If someone says this golden powder is now 20 rupees, then I say 10, 20 rupees one time. So they will not sell powders in auctions. But just for an example, that's the part of auctioneer's work. So he get an auction fees for that when he is doing this brokering service. Then when it comes to second part, Del credit agent is a person who will take the, you will collect the money from a person whom you cannot collect for a long time. These people will take the responsibility in collecting the money from the particular people. And third part is commission agent. They will sell the property. They might sell, like for example, they will take this phone, they will sell it, and they will make a commission out of the income that they are going to make. And broker is the person who speaks in between. He's a mediator between the principal and also the customer. He brings the money and he will sell it to the principal. So, but he is not actually taking the name of the principal. Who is factor? Factor is the person who buys and sells on his name behalf of the principal. So that's the definition. So answer is number one for this. Agent who buys or sells goods, that's the complete definition of a factor. Under his personal name on behalf of the principal is called factor. Following are some of the tools that can be used for marketing promotion mix. So they are given marketing promotion mix. It's a very confusing thing, guys. Some people who have, many students that this is very easy, but I'm saying this is a complex question. This is chapter number 14, marketing. I don't know why did they bring in 15 MCQ. Normally until 15 MCQ, it should be trained, and they have not tested certain areas. Now bringing marketing without management. They didn't put finance, they didn't bring operational management all of a sudden. That's the reason you see the pattern in 2020. The examiners have confused the student. Normally in every particular you will say a trend of the questions properly in a flow, but in this particular year you didn't find it. So following are some of the tools that can be used for marketing promotion mix: websites, sales meetings, exhibitions, catalogs, telephone calls, samples, social media, incentive programs. From the above, what is the group that contains tools that can be used for direct marketing? So what is the tool you can use for direct marketing? So what's direct marketing? That's to directly persuade the customer to purchase the product. It's not an indirect market. It's where you and your customer meet at one particular point. So let me speak about website. When I speak about website, customers can enter into the net and they can see about you. So you and your customer is directly meeting at that point, because their website means they are going to log into your website. That website means my website. As you see, shineinstitutelk.com is our website. So you can log it. So you are my customer. Then sales meeting is not about sales meeting, guys. Sales meeting is where you have a meeting between your team. It's not about customer. Again, you can't go with direct marketing. So B is wrong. If you go with answer number 3, you are completely wrong because you see B here. Then exhibitions, again, it's completely not a direct marketing, guys. Why is that? Because in exhibition, there are a lot of people. You can't directly speak with the customer. You need to attract them to bring them inside. So it takes some time. So it's also completely wrong. Let's say indirect marketing. So exhibition doesn't come. So if you go with answer number 3rd and 4th and 5th, you are completely wrong. And when it comes to catalogs, yes, indeed, catalogs is where when customer comes to your website or in your WhatsApp, you can set a catalog. They can see what are the products you sell. So it's a direct way of seeing. Telephone calls, you can call and speak to the customer directly. It's also part of direct marketing. So A, D is correct. But if you see the answer number 1, it should be either F or it should be either F. So G. So samples, again, you will not know the broadcast customer base. You will just sell to the market. So take a sample and you might give to customers. It's also a direct way, but you don't know are you giving it to the correct customer base. That's the real problem when it comes to samples. You don't know, are they really wanted to buy this sample or not. So you need to understand this particular thing when it comes to sample. So this is also a part of indirect marketing. So social media, directly indirect marketing. Social media is a direct marketing. You can find, today in Facebooks, today in Instagram, so you can set an audience. It's one of the important things we know. Audience, you can set an audience and you can target. Now, when I sell certain products in Chinese video services, I used to set, age number 13 to 20, I used to market in the internet and I used to sell my courses through that, guys. So when I do that, guys, it's a part of direct marketing, because understanding what customer base I need to see my product is a part of social media, which you can today advancement of technology. So you need to be very updated when you're answering this answer. So this is A, D, E, C, answer number 2 for 15-1. So let's move on to 16 MCQ. MCQ number 16 says that, guys, depreciation of rupee value of Sri Lankan causes to increase export orders, increase price of exports, increase import orders, decrease price of imports, and decrease export orders. You need to understand one thing, guys, when it comes to depreciation. What is depreciation, guys? Your money value is decreasing when compared to another currency. For example, if I take Sri Lankan currency, I'm going to explain you what is depreciation. First of all, I have an understanding about depreciation. If you take $1, guys, of money, if you are taking $1 is 200 rupees means, for example, if your money value is decreasing. Now, for example, what is depreciation? Your money value is decreasing, so $1 is now 220 rupees, right? That is what we say depreciation. Actually, you need to pay a big amount when you import. When it comes to import, it will become a very big impact. But when it comes to imports, it's good. So you know why? Because your money value has increased. Actually, if you see on the other side now, from our side, actually earlier I was selling for 200. Now I'm getting 220. Okay. But on import side, if I see, actually I was paying 200 earlier. It was very less costly, but now it's costly for me to bring import into my country. So depreciation is where your currency value is decreasing compared to another country's currency. When it goes to 1 divided by 220, you will get a lower value than 1 divided by 200. So if I take $1 and if I compare it with 200 and for example, if it goes to 160 rupees, then of course we say it as appreciation. So you need to understand the difference between appreciation and depreciation, because appreciation speaks about your money value is increasing, your currency value has got impacted. You know, the USA will feel costly for from that particular country to import from us, but actually depreciation is good for us because we are selling, we are motivated, our price value has decreased, but still we are getting a big amount of money in return. So actual for this answer, it's directly they are given. It's not about the increased price of exports. Your exports price won't increase. Actually, your export orders will increase. Why is that? Because if you feel that your $1 value has gone to 220 rupees, you will start to sell as much as possible rather than increasing the level of prices in the market, because $1 has already fallen down. Because of your falling dollar, your currency's value, money value has gone up by 220, so you will get a big return. So you will sell as much as possible to the market. But increase in price of exports we can't take. It's wrong, guys, because the price is not increasing. What is increasing? The dollar is making the currency to depreciate, because they're saying that it's depreciating the rupee value. Increase import orders. When I said when depreciation happens, because it's too costly, people will not buy imports. Decrease price of import. It's not price of import. It should be decreased quantity of import. So it's again wrong. Decrease exports order. It's not right that, guys. People will buy you a lot from you because it's too cheap for them. For my point of view, it's it's a big return for me, so I can sell as much as possible. So answer number 16 is going to be 1. So I want you guys to mark it as 1. So answer number 16 is 1. Okay, so after underlining that, we'll move on to answer number 17 without wasting our time. Yeah. Select the option. Select the option. Yeah. Which correctly states the two sub-roles according to the of the two management task of hospital management given below. Give a second, guys. Select the option which correctly states the two sub-roles according to the order of the two management task of hospital management given below. Make hospital employees aware of preventive measures of diseases, ensure sufficient treatment facilities, and procure protective medical equipment. So actually here they are speaking about two management tasks. You would have learned this actually in your school. Management role is introduced by a guy called Henry Mintzberg. You need to remember that guy. He's the actual person who bought this type of three type of roles he bought: interpersonal, informational, and decisional. When it comes to interpersonal, you have learned in school figurehead, liaison, and leader. Three people will come under interpersonal. Informational, you will have monitor, disseminator, and I think disseminator, monitor, and disturbance handler. So these are the three people you will speak about in informational. And when it comes to decisional, resource allocator, negotiator, entrepreneur, and you will have disturbance handler. So actually you have learned this four type of when it comes to this type of decision, and when it comes to information, and when it comes to what do you say interpersonal, you have learned this type of definition. I don't have time to explain one by one in this particular point, just to remind you what you are learning. Anyways, to move on to the point we want to discuss: A, make hospital employees aware of preventive measures of disease. So if you are going to give sort of message, who is this particular person who's going to do that? In a company, there are two people who will do this. One is liaison, other one is disseminator. Liaison is speaking about the main important communication patterns to the internal staff, but always who will notify employees. That's only you need to remember. Disseminator is the person who always informs to the management. So you find answer number 2. It's the correct answer. Disturbance handler will always report if there's any problem to come in future. He will always be a bit carrying on the problems which is going to happen in future. So actually, when it comes to problems to be sorted, because they are saying that they need proper treatment facilities, and all they should have proper protective medical equipment. So having this basic stuff is a main concern about disturbance handler. So answer is number two. Liaison is a person who speaks within the organization. He communicates very formal messages inside the corporate. Lead is a person who motivates and guides the people. Entrepreneur always takes decisions on its own. Monitor is the person who supervises the things are working on properly or not. So I have given you a small concern. So answer for this is actually two. I'm going to mark answer two. Okay. Answer is number two. So done with number two. So I'm going to move on to next part. MCQ number 18. So let's move on to 18th MCQ. Yeah. What does 18 MCQ says? Let me move on. A business facilitates its employees to work from home. So this last year it was pandemic. That's the reason the examiners worried about pandemic. That's the reason he's saying that you work from home, okay, via online mode in a crisis situation. So it's pandemic he's speaking about. The statement illustrates more on importance of planning, adaptation to dynamic environment, avoid organizational weaknesses, coordination of managerial functions, need of technological knowledge. It's very easy, guys. It's a very easy, simple question. Why do you need people to work at home? They are adapting to the environment. People can't go to work because of the COVID-19 pressure. People cannot go to work actually, so they need to ensure that they are safe. So it's not about planning. It's not about organization weakness. It's not about managerial function. It's not even about technology, guys. People will take the computer and come to home and work because they don't know technology. How come? People will know technology to operate it as basic. So adaptation to the dynamic environment. It's a very straightforward one. It's not a exact thing which is from your syllabus. So you need to understand it's a thing which has been tested for your knowledge. So answer is going to be two. So this is a general knowledge question, guys. So I said in business studies you might have at least two MCQs or one OTQ and one MCQ in your exams. Most probably focus on general knowledge. So let's move on to the next particular point we want to discuss. So MCQ number 19 speaks about, what does it speaks about? It speaks about certain statement. Now I'm on management chapter. You see, the following table shows the okay. So 19th MCQ. The following table shows the components of strategic plan and description relating to them. Mission, goals, strategies, policies, procedures. Which is the option that correctly matches the description? As per the order of the components given above, guide the way of conducting affairs to achieve goals and objectives of the organization. Outline what needs to be done to achieve goals and objectives of the organization. Outline a serious steps that need to be followed to achieve a task. Outline the long-term expectation and aspiration that an organization needs to achieve. Decide the nature and direction of an organization. So you need to understand what type of definition it is going to mean. Let's start with mission, guys. So what is actually mission is all about? Where does this mission leads to? Then we're gonna speak about goals. Then we're gonna speak about strategies, policies, and procedure. I can go in this way or this way, but I'm gonna go with one by one with the components. I'm gonna see what's the answer is going to be. So I'm gonna start with the first one. Mission. It's speaking about the deciding the nature and direction of the organization. You need to have a proper focus on what you're going to do. That's a part of mission. So mission speaks about the direction and the guide where they are leading to. Goals is the long-term targets the business has set. So it should be outline the long-term expectation that an organization to achieve. So E and D should come first. So it should be either 4 or 5. So A, B, I mean 1, 2, 3 are say strong completely. So you can easily find out now it's ED, and you see EDB is always the easiest way to find out if you have an MCQ like that. Guys, see if you have one answer particularly almost like similar, then of course it should be the answer in your exam. That's the easiest way to find your right answer. Now if you see here A, B, A, D, E, A, E, D, C, D, A. So these three all are different. So you need to keep these three to a side. Then of course 4 on the particular side, EDB, EDB. Then it should be the answer. Some two of this. So don't go with Taka, Tika, Tuka, Tikiri, Vadilla. That's not the way to go with the option. Then we need to see B is also correct. How do we see? Strategies speaking about outline what needs to be done to achieve goals and objective of the organization. So it should be either 4 or 5 again. Now there's only a problem A or C. So let's move on to fourth part. Policies should be what? It's about C or A. That's what you need to decide. It is policy speaks about guide the way of conducting affairs to achieve goals and objective of the organization. So if you achieve the goals and objective of the organization in proper guiding manner, it's a part of what to say policies. And what is procedure speaks about? Procedure says that you have a certain way of following. So answer is number 4, guys. Once you find the policies, you can easily find it's going to be fourth answer. And when it comes to procedures, guys, what is procedure? Procedure speaks about Outline a series of steps that need to be followed to achieve a task. So when you speak about the number of steps you need to follow, it's a part of procedure. So that's 19 MCQ. So we have found the 19 MCQ answer. Also, what is the 19 MCQ answer, guys? It's number 4. So we have underlined that. Then we move on next part, guys, on this particular paper. It's going to be 20th MCQ. My lap is very slow. I need you guys to be very patient when you are learning. Select the option that correctly states the leadership styles as per the order of two decisions given below. Employees are given full freedom and control to carry out their tasks. Obtain employee participation through decentralization of authority. So you need to remember one thing, guys. When it comes to leadership, there are three types of leaders. One is autocratic leader, democratic leader, laissez-faire leader. Autocratic leader never gives a chance to the people who is beneath him. He always takes decisions alone. When it comes to democratic leader, he always take decisions, by taking collective decisions with their teamwork. When it comes to laissez-faire, you need to understand that it is one particular way of leader where he believes that the work is done completely with the whole freedom of the employees. Now, when it comes to A and B, guys, you need to understand that employees are given full freedom and control to carry out their task. It's a part of laissez-faire because employees are given the chances to do what they really wanted. It's a part of laissez-faire. Then when it comes to obtain employee participation through decentralization. You need to know the term called decentralization. Centralization means the manager will not give the chances for the employees to take decision. Decentralization means they give the chance for employees to take the decision. So employees are given the chances to take decision only under democratic leadership style. So here the answer is going to be number 5, laissez-faire and democratic, which is going to be the correct answer for this. So you guys need to underline 20th number 5 for you guys to get a complete answer. Okay, so I hope you guys have done it actually in a correct manner. So MCQ number 21. Select the answer which contains only the functions of operations management. It's very direct question, guys. You need to identify the function which you would have learned in your operations management content. Production engineering, inventory control, and production planning. Material purchasing, setting standard, measuring performance, and production control. Production engineering, production planning, material purchasing, and production control. Production engineering, internal audit, inventory control, and production control. Setting standards, measuring performance, identifying variance, and research and development. So research and development is a part of marketing, so we won't take fifth one. Internal audit is a part of audit. It doesn't come under operate, so it's not the correct answer. Production engineering, it's correct. Production planning, material purchasing, and production control, all related to production, guys. So answer is number 3. Number 2, measuring performance, setting standards is a part of management, so it will not be a part of operation management. Production engineering, inventory control, and production planning. Inventory control is not a part of actually inventory control. We don't study it in this. We study it most of the time in financial management. So the answer for this is 21 is number 21 is number 3. So then we move on next part, guys. So I have underlined. I'm going to underline the answer. So number 3 is 21. Yeah. So after that, now we are moving on to a chart, guys. What is the chart? It says that it is saying that when it comes to when it comes to points A and B, the following diagram shows. Now you might see here a chart here, guys. So I'm gonna zoom a bit. Actually, here you are saying that it is falling down, it's increasing, it's falling down, and it's increasing. So you might see what is falling down. Actually, stock level, this is the maximum stock level the business is maintaining. This is the minimum stock level the business is maintaining. So in exams, you need to know this chart is about the stock level a business is keeping in a business and how they should reorder. Reorder means when the quantities fall to this level at 40, the business should reorder the goods again from the suppliers. So actually now here it is going up and again going down. The difference is now you see this chart is going down and up, and the chart is taking some time and coming back to this particular point. So from this point, coming down and coming to this point is what we say as cycle. Cycle means the number of time period it takes the product to reach that particular place. Cycle also we say when you see here first particularly you take how many days, guys? 4 days. 0 to 4 days it takes for you to reach the product. Again, when the second cycle starts from here to here, it's not 4 days. It's taking 4 to 8, and you say line if I take it is 9 days. So 9 days most probably. So actually on the first particular days you got only 4 days, and on the second order you got 5 days, which means it has taken more than the time it has consumed earlier. So when you are finding that, and also you might see that normally earlier they used to give the product when the product was reaching at this point they reordered. Still they manage to give it for the customers. But here when they are going to the second cycle, which is from A to B, they're going downward the minimum stock level. The downward part, this stock level, minimum stock level, and the time gap, the downward particular part is what we say it as buffer stock. What do we say, guys? We say it as buffer stock. So this particular point, this B is representing actually the consumer demand has increased. That's the reason they even have given the stock which has they are kept for sale. They are given that particular stock towards customers. So here it is decreasing until B part. So here you might see the cycle is going up and it's falling down even to the level where they are giving the stock what they have saved towards the customers. So you need to understand that one particular thing in this, this is an increasing in demand. That what you need to understand. The second time is it is increasing the lead time. So answer is number 3. Why is that, guys? It's lead time because earlier it took 4 days. Lead time is the number of days it takes for the product to reach your particular point. But on the second day, it takes 5 days to reach that product towards your place. So actually, you have taken more time to reach the product towards the consumers end. So you need to understand that particular thing. So answer is number 3. So we move on to number 23rd part. Choose the statement that correctly states quality assurance. Small groups of employees discuss about production issues. And then when it comes to the second, okay, so we move on to the point we want to discuss, guys. So choose a statement that actually states about quality assurance. Small groups of employees discuss about production issues and manufacturing complying with national and international standards. Ensuring the quality of products at each phase of production process, assuring that the manufacture of each product is free of defects. Defects means no faults, guys. You produce the quality in a product in a very quality manner. Communicating the performance of manufacturing process to relevant parties. Quality assurance is it's not quality assurance team they're speaking about. If they're speaking about some production issues within a team, it's quality assurance team or quality circles, we say that. So this definition doesn't follow quality assurance. Manufacturing complying the national and international standards. So you need to follow standards, SLS standards. So again, standards are not that it's not they're asking the definition. Quality assurance. Ensuring the quality of the products at each phase, like whenever you are producing at each production line, you are saying that do these products have a proper quality? So this is a part of the answer. Quality assurance is speaking about the place where you are seeing the quality. Is it relevant to the have they manufactured the product in proper quality or not? Assuring that the manufacture of each product is free from defects, so it's free from any mistakes. It's actually Kaizen techniques which you will learn something in operations management. You produce a product in every phase without no techniques. You start always improving and you want to produce the product with zero defects. So zero defects is another quality management procedure a company can go. It's not Kaizen. Kaizen is about improving the products process. In every time when you do the process, you should make an improvement. So answer for 23rd is MCQ. Answer is actually third one. So I'm going to underline third one here. So you guys also underline with me. The communicating the performance of manufacturing process to relevant part. It's also a part of quality circle, so that's not that important to this particular part. So moving on to the point we want to discuss, marketing position for a product or service means increasing in the sales in the market, increasing the market share, establishing in the market in the long run, increasing the monopolistic power. What is monopolistic power, guys? Monopolistic means one particular person is controlling the entire market. When one person has the ability to control the entire market, we say it as monopolistic power of the businessman. So business building up a favorable attitude in consumers' mind. So market positioning, when you see the term positioning, it should remind you one thing. Positioning is like making that particular thing to stand in your mind. So what answer makes you to find the positioning part in your mind? It's not about sales increment. It's not about the market share increment. It's not even you are in long run. It's about keeping the product actually in the consumer's mind. That's the actual thing you need to know when it comes to the product, when it comes to the reach. So building a favorable attitude. What is favorable attitude? You are making the consumers to purchase that particular product. You are making the consumers to remember your product. For example, when you guys see the Klogard advertisement, you see that lady comes out of the out of the coconut all of a sudden, and she comes and asks, do you have salt in your toothpaste? So that's also part of market positioning. They remind you the product in your mind. They just implant that product in your mind. That's a part of market positioning. So answer for 24th MCQ is answer number 5. So I have underlined that particular part. Then we move on to MCQ number 25. I'm gonna try 25th MCQ. You guys say in the last year, the current ratio and quick ratio of company were 3:1 and 2:1 respectively. While current ratio remains unchanged in the current year, The quick ratio is 1:1. This indicates comparability. So you need to understand one particular thing, guys. When it comes to quick ratio and current ratio, what is actually happening? Just give me a second. Then we move on to the point, guys, we want to discuss. So 25th MCQ. Actually, the ratio is 3:1. What is a company's current ratio? What's the formula for current ratio, guys? When you're doing this MCQ, you need to know this. Current asset divided by current liabilities is what we say current ratio. When it comes to quick ratio, what is quick ratio, guys? Current asset minus inventory divided by current liability. So if I write the formula, guys, I'm just gonna remind you what you have learned until now. So current ratios formula is about what do you say, guys? You have current assets divided by current liabilities. What is quick ratio, guys? It speaks about yeah, this is in financial management, which I have taught you. Current assets minus inventory divided by current liabilities. So now the question is, now if you see the particular question, they are saying that very confidently. Yeah, you should not confuse, guys. They're saying that actually in particular here it was 3:1, and now it's your current ratio haven't changed, but your quick ratio has changed from 2:1 to 1:1. That's the question, because it says that while current ratio remains unchanged in the current year, the quick ratio is just 1:1. So if I change from 2:1 to 1:1, what might be the reason? The reason, if I remove quick in inventory a big amount from the quick ratio, if I remove a big amount from the quick ratio, then of course my what to say quick ratio will go down. So which means my inventory is very high in my second particular year. Whereas if you see my current ratio is unchanged, which means I'm doing my business perfectly. I have no problem in managing the cash flows of the business, which means what is the exact answer for this? An increase in company's liquidity, an increase in closing stock value. Actually, answer is number two, an increase in closing stock value. Why is that? Because as I said, if you increase the level of inventory, then only your quick ratio will fall down. You have seen your quick ratio has fallen down, but not the current ratio. Current ratio is the same, it's remain unchanged. So answer is number two. Decrease in closing stock value, decrease in company's liquidity, or increase in company's total liabilities are very straightforward answers which you can consider it as wrong. So answer is number two. I'm going to underline that and I'm going to move on to the next particular part of the question. So MCQ number 26, we are going to move. So I'm going to underline increasing in stock value. So I have underlined it, guys, correctly. Then I am going to move on to next part of the sum. Yeah. So 26th MCQ. Following are several types of financial market: interbank, call money market, corporate bond market, commercial paper market, foreign exchange market, share market, treasury bond market. From the above, what is the group which belongs only to the capital market? ABF, BDF, PEF, CDF, and CF. So you need to know when it comes to financial market, there are two types of market. One is capital market, other one we said as money market. Money market means short-term financial securities have been moved in. Whereas when it comes to when it comes to capital market, it doesn't take short term; it takes long term securities investment. Now you need to understand when it comes to this part, interbank call money market is a money market because they already said it's money market. So you can't take A. If you have taken A answer particularly here, so it's actually wrong. So you should not take A here, guys, because A they have already said it's money market, so you can't take, so it's wrong. So B, when it comes to corporate bond market, of course it's a corporate market, it's a bond market. Bond market, it's a long-term market. So B is a capital market. Then we move on to commercial paper market. That's also very fast. You can get money. Like companies give some sort of securities and they collect money for their basic stableness of the business. So this is also a money market. Then when it comes to foreign exchange market also you might see the fixed rates and exchange rates will go up and down. It's fluctuating always, so you can't always expect it to be the same every day. So share market and treasury bond market, actually it comes under a long-term market. So we consider BEF as the answer for 26. Then we move on to MCQ number 27. So answer for 26 is BEF. So what is the answer, guys? BEF. So moving on to the 27 MCQ, we have the following table shows types of selection. The following table shows the selection types of selection methods of applicants and some measures relating to them. So this is HR management, which I haven't taught you yet, but I'm going to move on to the content. Methods, they have given application assessment, IQ test, practical test, and personality test. What is the option that correctly measures as per the order of methods given above? So you need to know the definition. Application assessment speaks about, they have given ABCD. Let me read that and understand. Ability to control emotions. So emotion is about personality test. So fourth one should be having A answer. So if you see fourth one A answer, it should be fourth one or second one. You see, so A, first, third, and fifth is wrong. Exactly. Then I move on to second part, ability to accomplish the task of the relevant job. So relevant job task will be given under practical test. So second, I mean third one should be, yeah. What are they saying? Ability to give me a second. Ability to control emotions, ability to accomplish task of relevant job, suitability of candidates' qualifications, suitability of logical thinking. So I'm going to go one by one, guys. When it comes to personality test, it's about ability to control emotions, that's personality. Practical test speaks about ability to accomplish task and relevant job. And IQ test speaks about what does it speak about? Ability to of logical decision thinking. Then application assessment speaks about suitability of candidates qualification. So answer is number 4. It's not number 2. It's number 4. Then I'm going to underline the answer. Then I'm going to move on to 28 MCQ. So then we move on to 28 MCQ, guys. Yeah. MCQ 28 says that the immediate result of providing financial benefits on employees' performance is increasing employee motivation, increasing employee productivity, increasing employee attraction, minimizing employee absenteeism. Absenteeism means the number of days an employee can, take leave. So it will also be minimized when it comes to when they give financial benefit itself. And they're saying that improving employee consensus, like problems which might happen in future, you are trying to decrease. So you need to understand one particular thing, guys. Financial benefits of employee will always motivate them. So that's the very easy answer. I'm gonna move it. 28 first one. If you guys go with, it's all looks similar, but what will make a person motivated? It's money, guys. If you can give money, a person will be always motivated. If a person is getting 20,000 salary and if you get 120,000, you will never go out of the job. So, but I always say, guys, money will not decide your future. It's your knowledge, guys, not your money. So then we move on to the next 29th MCQ. Yeah, 29th MCQ. We are going to come to the final part of the MCQs, guys. An employee disciplinary issue that occur while on duty is delayed reporting to work, working for a competitive organization, resigning from the job without informing, taking without approval, assaulting an employee. So, what is the main discipline an employee disciplinary problem will go through? All this feels like the disciplinary issue, but actual disciplinary issue is not about working competitive. These are legal actions, not discipline. It's very worse. These things like delayed reporting work is a part of discipline, but assaulting an employee, find faults on particular employee, you start a fight with him. That's one of the problem of discipline. You need to be always, generous, always in a proper manner to be respected in front of people. So then answer is 29 is number 5. So I'm gonna go with number 5, guys. Then we move on to the last part of the question, last part of the MCQs. So I'm gonna move on very faster without wasting my and your time. We already have done a lot of we have taken a lot of time to complete these MCQs. Then we come to the point. Several steps used in management process are given below. So which we have learned this already. Coordination, task identification, problem identification, delegation of work, departmentalization, employee training, resource analysis, interdepartmental communication. Or the above step related to organizing. So organizing, you have learned something called policy in your management function, planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So this is about organizing, the third part of the second part of your management function. So planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Organizing speaks about coordination. It speaks about sometimes it speaks about task identification also. It speaks about delegation of work. It speaks about departmentalization. So which answer is speaking about? Like problem identification won't come for sure. So I feel like the answer is A, B, D, and E, because F is employee training. It's part of human resource, not management. So if you have F answer in any of the answer, it's wrong. So this third, fourth, fifth is completely wrong. And resource analysis can some be, and interdepartment communication is it's part of the process. So you can't take communication as a part of organizing. So F, G and H I will not take. So I will move on with the answer A, B, D, and E, guys. So answer is going to be A, B, D, and E, which is first one of the MCQ. So thank you for watching my video, guys. We'll post more videos in future, inshallah, to learn with me. 2019, I'll be uploading soon 30 MCQs. Please do not forget to subscribe my channel to learn with me more in future.